Hey, my neck is killing me.
I can't feel my legs.
Look, I think I see water.
No, that's just a mirage.
Did I hear someone say massage? Hello, fellas. I think I can help you out with those aches and pains.
I never heard of anybody massaging a horse.
Yeah, besides, we're starving. Hey, my neck feels great. Thanks, Doc.
I bet there ain't nothing you can do for my legs. Wow, unbelievable. I feel like a champion racehorse.
Yep. It is new, all right.
Mr. Producer, what do you do? Anyway, we're having a little fun today. This is Geary Whiting and my sidekick, Brandy Armenta. Last week I mispronounced her last name. Anyway, you're listening, or perhaps you're watching Slow Talk Radio. And even though I commented last week that sometimes we talk slow, sometimes we talk fast, it's not spelled the same way. One's S-L-O, one's S-L-O-W. So what do you think, Brandy?
I'm liking this. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like these guys, too. It's pretty fun here.
Yeah, they're kind of a wild group. But you can't see behind out there. No. Well, where you can't see it is where all the action is. I'm just out here talking. I was thinking of a funny little story about this fellow. His wife said, Charlie, you've been working really hard. I think you need to take some time off. Why don't you just go on out, go down and have a couple of drinks, see some of your old buddies. And he said, well, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. He said, if you had too much to drink, you don't want to drive, just give me a call. I'll come down and pick you up. He says, oh, that's great, sweetheart. So he goes out and he goes from bar to bar and sees a lot of his old buddies. And they close the bar down. It's time to go home. Well, he can't find his car. And so he said, well, my wife, she'll come and pick me up. So he calls home, and his wife answers the phone. And he goes, I've had too much to drink. Come on, get me. And his wife says, sure thing, sweetheart. Give me the address where you are. He says, wait a second. And this was the day of the old telephone booth. We don't have them anymore. So he opens the door, looks out, and he says, okay, I'm on the corner of walk and don't walk. So,
that's our opening icebreaker joke.
That's it.
I like it.
Well, last week I said we were going to start talking about some interesting educational things. This is the book we're going to be going from. It's my in-home study program for horse and human, and along with that, not just those 9 chapters, 240 pages. We have videos on equine massage, stretching, saddle fitting, and then we have another video on it's an instructional DVD, a workout, and a massage DVD that goes with this in-home study program. I was getting some gas at the pump the other day. I saw at the mobile station here in Paso Robles, and I saw the cute little Far Side cartoon. It says, what the, ? Ketchup? It was 2 sharks swimming. It says, ketchup? We followed a ketchup trail for 3 miles, and I couldn't help but laugh, and it made me start to think about some of the examples that we follow in life, some of the experts that we follow, and it's kind of like sometimes we follow a false trail. So what I'm going to be doing, and Brandy as well, is we're going to be talking about some pretty sound information and knowledge. And this is the same stuff I teach in my equine massage school. Today I'm going to talk about laminitis or founder. Sometimes we hear the term founder, sometimes we hear the term laminitis, and it's one and the same. Now, Brandy works for Epona, which is a company I really come to respect. I've been heavy towards the barefoot horse, form, function, design, and they came into life this way, and I like the idea of leaving them that way. But in some cases, we run into some problems. And you working out at Epona, you've seen some pretty good, wonderful things that Epona has done for these horses. Unfortunately, getting them to that state is should not be our first choice. So we're going to do a little educating as to what causes these problems. You have anything you want to contribute, Brandy?
Let's see. No, but I'll let you keep going. I'll pipe in on things. I'm not sure. Like you said, we deal with this quite a bit at Epona Shoe. Sometimes with cases that are horses at this is their last shot, getting ready either to be put down, been told by other vets and stuff to have the horse put down, and Monique and John doing what they do have definitely tons of cases of that where a horse shows up to us unable to even barely be trailered, make it to our place in a trailer, and within hours and next few days be running around, bucking, running in an arena like the owners haven't seen them do in years. So to see that firsthand, and I think that holds a lot of weight with me as far as, and like you said, all this as far as Monique's case studies and everything is documented as well as it is, radiographs and all that. I mean, the proof is there.
Yeah,
it's not something made up.
It's undeniable. I'm sure you're going to have some things to add to this, but I'm going to go ahead and read from my in-home study program right here. And what you're going to hear and see me talk about, or us talk about, is what's in the book in my in-home study program. Okay, so let's look under laminitis. Let's look at what causes laminitis. Okay, anything that may disturb the vascular balance. I'm going to underscore vascular balance of the foot, causing the soft tissue lamina within the foot to become inflamed. The integrity of the coffin bone is put into question. So I'm going to underscore the integrity of the coffin bone being put into question. Contributing factors are excessive work on hard ground, and then I'm going to underscore work on hard ground. And we'll go back over this later as to why I'm underscoring these points. Digestive disturbances, improper shoeing, excessive feed, when a horse is idle, febrile or debilitating diseases, allowing an overheated horse to drink or walk through cold water. I wonder about that. That's maybe interesting to talk about. Sudden increase in feed, sudden changes in feed or richness of feed, i.e. new spring grass, etc. Laminitis can be acute or chronic. Okay, so back to these underscored vascular balance. Well, there are more blood vessels per square inch in the horse's foot, so that makes the horse's foot liquid. And having that, I always think of the importance of medial-lateral balance. And oftentimes I see horses that don't have a proper medial-lateral balance where they're tilted one way or the other. Well, that's going to create some problems. The integrity of the coff bone is put into question. The coffin bone is it sits on top of the frog. And when the frog is a support mechanism to keep that coffin bone from moving too far. And what I have found when putting shoes on a horse, it elevates that foot off the ground, and you don't have the support touching the ground, which blocks the coffin bone from traveling down too far when weight is applied on that foot. And also with a perimeter metal type shoe, you have an increase in concussion by 60 to 80%. So that would be like working on hard ground. So you have this concussion factor going on.
Constant,
you have,
yeah, with riding, a constant, yeah.
and you don't have any support at the frog, which supports the coffin bone. The frog isn't on the ground. So now the coffin bone can move further, and the impact, the shock, is going to be detrimental to that coffin bone. Also, the frog is I call it an anti-skid, where it helps a horse have traction. And when you have a metal shoe on there, you lose traction. When I was in high school, I used to get into fights a lot, and I was cool. I had these horseshoe taps on my heel, and I remember getting a little bullish with this one kid. I took a swing at him, and my back foot slid back about 2 feet, and I missed his jaw about I don't know, about a foot. And I slammed my fist into the ground, and I'm laying on the floor, sitting on the floor there on all fours, embarrassed. And the guy looked at me and said, "Are you all right?" I go, "No." I got up and I walked off with my tail between my legs. I took those horseshoe taps off the heel of my shoes because I knew I had no traction. So when we put metal shoes on horses, we lose our traction.
One thing with that too, with the frog being not in any, not getting that stimulation and that blood flow, which is important to hoof growth and feeding the hoof too. So when that's imposed, you're kind of, that frog needs that stimulation and that blood flow to be getting the movement and growth that it needs.
Yeah, the whole foot is a mechanism that expands out and contracts in, expands out and contracts in. And the whole foot has to be able to have movement to it. But the coffin bone is what's in jeopardy. And that's what's going to lead to laminitic problem. What I like about the Epona shoe, I should have brought one in with me.
I know, that's what I was thinking. We could have had some. We might have to do that next week. Bring a few and some bones in and stuff, and do a little.
But the Epona shoe covers the whole foot, and it supports the coffin bone. It has a little flex to it, so it moves when the foot has to move and expand. It goes ahead and has a little expansion to it and allows the foot to be more like a foot.
Happy medium, yeah. Between steel and barefoot. Yeah.
I'm going to give you, now I'm going to go over some recommendations. In case you just tuned in, this is Slow Talk Radio. I'm Geary, and this is Brandy. And we are hopefully giving you something of education that you can, because laminitis is a very serious problem. And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't quite sure what causes laminitis. We know some things. But there is, when I read the recommendations for laminitis, I'm also going to touch on alfalfa, and I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know if I told you this story or not, Brandy. Here's the recommendations. I support Frank Lampley's nutritional program. You can go to franklampley.com, and anytime you order anything from Frank Lampley, you get an automatic discount. I don't make a penny off of them. I recommend them because I use their products and have for years, and I've never gone wrong using their products. The recommendations: you feed 1 well-rounded teaspoon of Lampley's Formula 49 as often as every 20 minutes in cases of fresh founder, beginning the minute foundering is discovered. Time is of the essence, but a complete turnaround can be accomplished. In such cases, acute founder reduce grain to 1 handful or none, and feed no other supplements during healing. In all cases of laminitis, new or old, feed a grass or timothy hay.
Same thing too, and a lot more so. I think recently where we're breeding, we have these big, huge quarter horses. Tiny little feet that and like you said, with feeding and nutrition, people don't take it, I think, as seriously as I look, and I'm sure you've seen too how Monique feeds there with us. I mean, very, very particular. I mean, nutrition is one of her main and top priorities with all of her horses. And going back to what you're saying, like that, even these small things that you're saying, like pulling alfalfa from a horse that founder case, or people might not think that's important, but that usually in the case is 90% of it is nutrition and same thing like Cushing's, that type of stuff, and I think nutrition is the start, the basis of a lot of these issues that we see too.
Do you have a particular case study that you could maybe share of a horse that came in? Well, okay, let's talk a little bit about perhaps some of the things that you've seen being involved with the Epona for as long as you have. Some of the really bad situations got turned around.
Oh, yeah, and there's cases too where we just might get some radiographs and even Monique thinking, oh goodness, just when we think we've seen the worst case possible, something else comes on her desk. So, and some of those more serious cases we do follow for 6, 8, 10 months at a time, and really with radiographs and all that, like I was saying, it's hard to deny the stuff that you see there in the science part of it, and so many. I wouldn't even know where to start. I mean, daily we have customers calling and need a horse that's one right now that Monique is getting ready to start, that this woman, and I think the horse is like 7 years old and just severe case. It's been at Alamo, and they're saying there's nothing else that they can do for the horse at 7. I think it was a young racehorse, I believe. So like you were saying, a lot of that hard stuff, running, younger horses, legs not developed, along with maybe not the best of nutrition, but that's mostly, unfortunately, what we deal with. And then once people do use Epona shoes and see, then you have your average person that keeps their horse in Eponas because obviously not going back to steel or anything like that, but usually with these studies like that, by the time they get to us, they are not pretty.
One of the things I really appreciated about the Epona shoe is when Monique places them on the horse's foot, she usually sets them back and gives a little earlier breakover, which makes it a lot easier on the suspensory.
And the way the shoes are designed, that front edge, it's beveled, and the horse will bevel and shape that shoe as it needs, and that's what they were designed to do, to wear as the hoof needs it to. So like you're saying, most of those cases like that, shoe placement and trim, I think, is a big part of it too.
A friend of mine, a farrier, went to the racetracks, and he was trying to get across to the owners and the trainers there how the horses would actually perform better if they had a shorter toe. And at that time, the theory was if he had a longer toe, when the horse stuck into the ground, it would give him more traction. Well, we come up with theories and ideas, and we find out that they really didn't work, and they were just a theory or an idea. So what he did, he took one horse in particular, and he pulled he shortened the toe. And so they ran the horse, they videoed the horse. The horse ran a much quicker time. You could see the horse was moving with a lot, with ease. And even though the horse turned a quicker time by just shortening that toe a little bit, putting the brake over a little bit earlier, the people still couldn't get out of their head tradition. Mm-hmm. They still couldn't get past the thought of, but this isn't how we do it. This is how we do it. And it's hard to make changes. When you're set in a certain way of looking at things, it's hard to make changes. I had to learn to make changes years ago because I realized that the way I was not advantageous to me at all. So I decided I needed to start being teachable and correctable. First thing was to be correctable, and then I was open for teaching. So I've seen it myself. I've heard it from farriers, the success stories, and
I think a lot of that is too with farriers, like you're saying, some of the more open-minded, once they do try and realize and look at these case studies. I hear that daily as well too. So that's good on our part, because like you're saying, sometimes those older ways that people are taught, or they think that's the only way.
I saw something really pretty interesting out when I was at Pona. John was showing me an X-ray of the horse's foot, and you could see the coffin bone, and so he drew a line where he determined where the breakover needed to be was from the hairline down straight into the tip of the coffin bone, and you take that line further, and it came behind the toe a little bit. And I started thinking, it makes a lot of sense to have used that as a way of telling where the breakover should be, because the bone, nothing happens within the bone, but before, it's just like here's our breakover right at this joint. So at the tip of that coffin bone would be a natural place where you start to get a little bit of a breakover. So I'm going to go over one more time on the cause of the founder or laminitis. Anything that may disturb the vascular balance of the feet, causing the soft tissue, lamina, within the foot to become inflamed. The integrity of the coffin bone is put into question. Contributing factors are excessive work on hard ground, digestive disturbances, improper shoeing, excessive feed when horse is idle, febrile or debilitating diseases.
Improper trimming too.
Improper trimming, yeah. Allowing an overheated horse to drink water or walk through cold water, sudden increase in feed, sudden change in feed or in richness of feed, new springtime grass, etc. Laminitis can be acute or chronic, and the recommendations is the biggest one is get it on sound nutrition and get the alfalfa out of their diet. So I'm looking at our Mr. Producer here, and so far he's not giving me the sign to be quiet. What's up, Mr. Producer?
How much? We have 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes. Well, I guess in the 3 minutes, I'm going to go back over a program everybody needs. My first in-home study program, 9 chapters of really, really valuable material. It's a horse and rider program. I will go through really quick. I'll give you the, I was going to say menu, but I will give you the table of contents. Equine and human nutrition, massage stretching techniques for horses, hoof care, which we just talked about, equine performance, anatomy, how music affects both horses and human, different articles that I've written, and Brandy says she liked them. Yay, Brandy. Human massage. I also have, I teach you how to massage one another. And this is for your loved ones and for your family and your friends, where you'll be able to help them. And, of course, fitness and conditioning for the rider. And with that, you get videos. You get this 3-part DVD on equine massage, stretching, and saddle fitting, and another DVD on introduction to the video, massage techniques, and a workout video. Well, this is Geary Whiting and Brandy Armenta. This is, we've been entertaining you, hopefully, and educating you on Slow Talk Radio. Next week, we'll be covering more of these nutritional issues. In the meantime...
Bring some visuals, too. We need to remember that.
Yep, that's it.
Do a little...
Okay, that's it. Brandy and I say, see you down the trail.
Yep. Good as new, all right.